Good morning, fourth graders. Today is Friday, May 1st, 2020. I can't believe it. May is here. We're coming back then to the city of Ember. We're getting close to the end, guys. Yesterday when I left off, Lena and Dune had found the boats, the candles, the matches. They were so excited they were going to tell everybody at signing day, and then they realized that they're in trouble. The guards are looking for them, and they're not sure what to do about it. And Lena was saying she was being selfish, but she wanted Poppy and Mrs. Murdo to go with, and Dune saying nothing's going to go wrong. This is a good plan. All right. Nothing will go wrong. It's a good plan, Lena. We'll be there ahead of everyone else. We can welcome them when they come, and we can show them around. Dune was bursting with eagerness, his eyes shone, and he jiggled up and down. Well, all right, said Lena. Let's write the message then. Dune wrote for a long time, and when he was finished, he showed what he'd written to Lena. He'd explained how to find the rock with the E, how to go down to the boat room, even how to use the candles. It's good, she said. We just have to deliver it. She paused a moment to see if she had any courage inside her. She found that she did, along with sadness and fear and excitement. I'll deliver it, she said. I'm the messenger, after all. I know to go back ways, where no one will see me. An idea struck. Dune, maybe Clary will be home. Maybe she would keep us safe and help us to know what to do, and we wouldn't have to leave right now. Dune quickly shook his head. I doubt it, he said. She's probably with her singing group getting ready. You'll just have to leave the note under her door. Lena could tell from his tone of voice that Dune didn't really want Clary to be home. She supposed he had his heart set on their going down the river by themselves. Dune glanced up at the clock on the schoolroom wall. It's a little after 2, he said. The singing begins at 3, and after that everyone will be in Harkin Square and the streets will be empty. I think we can get to the pipework safely then. Why don't we leave it about 3:15? Do you still have the key? Lena asked. Dune nodded. So after I deliver the note to Clary, I'll come back here, said Lena. Yes, and then we'll wait until 3:15, and we'll go. Lena got up from the cramped desk and went to the window. She moved the blind a little and peered out. There was no one in the street. The dusty schoolroom was very quiet. She thought about Dune's father, who would be frantic when he saw his son's name on these posters, and then realized later that Dune had disappeared. She thought about Mrs. Murdo, who might already have seen the posters, and who would be frightened if guards came looking for Lena, and terrified if Lena didn't come home by nightfall. She tried not to think about Poppy at all. She just couldn't bear it. Give me the note, she said to Dune at last. She folded the piece of paper carefully and put it in her pocket. Back soon, she said, and went out of the room and down the hall to the rear door of the school. Dune went to the window to watch her go. He moved the blind aside just enough to see out into Pibb Street. There she was, running in that long-legged way with her hair flying. She started across Stone Grit Lane. Just before she reached the other side, Dune's breath stopped in his throat. 2 guards rounded the corner from Knack Street, directly ahead of her. One of them was the chief guard. He leaped forward and shouted so loudly Dune could hear him plainly through the glass. That's her! Get her! Lena reversed her direction in an instant, and she raced back down Pibb Street, turned towards School Street and toward Bilbolio Square, and vanished from Dune's sight. The guards ran after her, shouting. Dune watched, sick with terror. She's faster than they are, he told himself. She'll lose him. She knows places to hide. He stood frozen next to the window, hardly breathing. They won't catch her, he thought. I'm sure they won't catch her. Chapter 16 is called The Singing. When Lena heard the guards shout, terror shot through her. She ran faster and faster than she ever had before, her heart pounding wildly. Behind her, the guards kept up their shouting, and she knew that if other guards were nearby, they would come running. She had to find a hiding spot. Ahead of her was Bilbolio Square. Was there a spot she could duck into? And like an answer, Dune's words came back to her. The library. It's almost always open, even on holidays. She didn't have time to think. She didn't ask herself whether Edward Pocket would be willing to hide her or whether there would even be a good place to hide in the library. She just ran for the passageway that led to the library door and darted down. But the library wouldn't open. She turned the knob frantically. She pulled and pushed, and then at the same time, she heard running footsteps out of the guards coming into the square. She saw the small handwritten sign stuck to the door at that point, closed for singing. The guards were very near now. If she ran, they would see her. She flattened herself against the wall, hoping they wouldn't think to look in the library passage. But they did. Here she is, yelled one of the guards. She tried to shoot past him, but the passage was too narrow, and he caught her by the arm. She pulled and twisted and kicked, but the chief guard had her now, too. He gripped her other arm with fingers like iron. "Stop your struggling," he said. Lena reached up and grabbed a handful of his wiry beard. She pulled with all her might, and the chief guard roared, but he didn't let go. He yanked her forward almost off the ground, and the two other guards dragged her across the square at an awkward, lopsided pace that made her stumble over her own feet. "You're hurting me," Lena said. "Don't hold me so tight." "Don't you tell us what to do," said the chief guard. "We'll hold you tight till we get you where you're going." "And where is that?" asked Lena. She was so enraged at her bad luck that she almost forgot to be afraid. "You're going to see the mayor, missy." "Excuse me," said the chief guard. "He'll decide what to do with you." "I haven't done anything wrong." "Ha," said the guard, "spreading vicious rumors, telling dangerous lies calculated to cause civic unrest." "It's not a lie," she said. But the guard gripped her even more tightly and gave her a shove, so she stumbled sideways. "Silence!" he screamed, and they walked the rest of the way in silence. A few people had already gathered in Harkin Square, though the workers were still getting it ready for the singing. Street sweepers crossed the square back and forth, pushing their brooms. Someone appeared at a second-floor window of the building on Gilly Street and unfurled one of the banners that was always displayed for the singing. A long piece of red cloth, faded after years of use, but still showing its design of wavy lines, representing the river, the source of all power. That was for the Song of the River. There would be a banner on the Broad Street side of the square also, this one deep yellow gold with a design like the grid to represent the Song of the City, and another banner on Otterwill's side for the Song of Darkness, perfectly black except for a narrow yellow edge. The guards marched Lena up the steps of the gathering hall and through the wide doorway. They took her down the main corridor, opened the door at the end, and gave her one last push, a push that caused her to stagger forward in an undignified way and bump up against the back of the chair. It was the same room she'd been in that other, much happier day, her first day as a messenger. Nothing had changed. The frayed red curtains, the armchairs with the upholstery worn thin, the hideous mud-colored carpet. The portraits on the wall looked down at her sorrowfully. "Sit there," said the chief. He pointed at a small, hard-looking chair that faced the large armchair. Lena sat. Next to the chair was a small table she remembered from before, with the china teapot and the tray of china teacups with chips around their edges. The chief guard left the room, to find the mayor, Lena supposed. The other one stood silently with his arms folded across his huge chest. Nothing happened for a while. Lena tried to think about what she should say to the mayor, but her mind just wouldn't work. Then the door of the front hall opened, and in walked the mayor. It was the first time Lena had seen him up close since she had delivered Looper's message to him. He seemed even more immense. His baggy face was the color of a mushroom. He wore a black suit that stretched only far enough across his vast belly for one button to connect with its buttonhole. He moved ponderously across the room and settled into the armchair, filling it completely. Next to his chair was a table, and on that table was a brass bell the size of a fist. The mayor gazed for a moment at Lena with eyes that looked like openings out of a tunnel, and then he turned to the guard. "Dismissed," he said, waving the back of his hand at him. "Return when I ring the bell." The guard left. The mayor swung his gaze back to Lena. "I'm not surprised," he said. He lifted one arm and pointed his fat finger into Lena's face. "You've been in trouble before, going where you shouldn't." Lena started to speak, but the mayor held up his hand. It was an oddly small hand with short fingers like ripe pea pods. "Curiosity," said the mayor. "A dangerous quality, that. Unhealthy, especially regrettable in one so young." "Young," said Lena. "I'm 12. "Silence," said the mayor. "I'm speaking." He wiggled slightly from side to side, wedging himself more firmly into the chair. He'll need to be pried out of it, thought Lena. "Ember, as you know," the mayor went on, "is in a time of difficulty. Extraordinary measures are necessary. This is a time when citizens should be most loyal, most law-abiding for the good of all." Lena said nothing. She watched how the flesh under the mayor's chin bulged in and out as he spoke, and then she turned her eyes from this unpleasant sight and looked carefully around the room. She was thinking now, calculating, but not about what the mayor was saying. The duties of a mayor, said the mayor, are super complex. They cannot be understood by a regular citizen, particularly children. That is why, he went on, leaning slightly forward so that his stomach pushed farther out onto his lap, certain things must remain hidden from the public. The public could not understand. The public must have faith, said the mayor, once again holding up his hand, this time with a finger pointing to the ceiling. That all is being done for their benefit, of course. This is all for their own good. Hogwash, said Lena. The mayor jerked backward. His eyebrows came down over his eyes, making them into dark slits. What? He screamed. Surely I heard you incorrectly. No, said Lena. I said hogwash. It means do not presume to tell me what it means, the mayor said, gasping for breath. Impudence will make things worse for you. He was breathing heavily, and his words came out with spaces between them. A misguided child such as yourself requires a forceful lesson. His short, fat fingers gripped the arms of the chair. Just you wait. And that's where we'll stop. We'll see you guys again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.